Good evening. Welcome to our first Twitch live stream together. My name is Elisa Setmire, and we are here for my intro psych class. Can everyone hear me and see me okay? If you've never used it before, this is Twitch, and the best way to communicate with me is going to be in the chat. So hopefully you can hear and see me just fine. If someone could give me like a yes or a thumbs up, that would be fantastic, just so I know. Okay, perfect. You can hear me. Perfect. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Well, welcome. I'm so glad so many of you could be here. There's about 40, 50 of you in here with me right now, which is fantastic. These aren't going to be required, but I did want to take a little bit of time and kind of walk you through the class and the setup and make sure I give you an opportunity. If you had any questions for me, you could ask me live. I am at home, so I can't promise you that some of my cats won't find their way into our live stream today, but hopefully that's kind of fun and not distracting and obnoxious. But this is our course homepage. What I want to do tonight is just kind of walk you through the homepage, the ebook page, kind of show you how everything is organized, talk a little bit about the syllabus, the mandatory orientation materials, the textbook, and then what I'll do at the end is I'll go over what we have going on this week and then leave it open for some questions. And if at any point tonight you have questions for me, feel free to put them in the chat. I am monitoring that on my phone and I would be happy to answer any questions you have, but I will also leave space for that at the very end. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. And this will be by far the longest meeting that we'll have. After today, it'll be kind of quick and short and sweet, maybe like 25 minutes. But tonight will take a little longer just because I want to go through everything and make sure you're feeling good. So if you are here, this is our Canvas homepage. And if you can get here, you should be in really good shape. And I hope at this point, all of you have logged into Canvas, you've kind of explored the class. There's definitely a couple of things that you should be starting to do. Luckily for us, this is an 8-week class, so things aren't quite as pressured. I am teaching a 4-week one as well, and that one moves very quickly. This one, we have a little bit more time. So what I want to do is just kind of walk you through. You can see there's a little description, and then you have some links here to the orientation, how to get a hold of me, help and campus resources, course documents and videos, and then it just goes week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And so the class is organized around weeks. You basically will have access to 2 weeks of material at any given time, and I'll talk about that more here in just a moment. So really good place to start is to click where it says start here. I'm going to go over here to modules just so I can kind of go over the syllabus with you just a little bit. And I'm not going to go over everything, but I do want to kind of make some highlights. And again, if at any point you have questions for me, please feel free to ask. So this class is section 55502. It's an 8-week summer class. My name, right? So my name is Elisa Setmire. You can call me Elisa. You can call me Professor Setmire. Dr. Setmire is a lie, but I will smile if you say it. That's totally fine. But most people call me Professor Setmire or just Setmire or even Elisa. I do have an office and a phone number, but because it's summer, I'm not really on campus. So the best way to get a hold of me is always going to be email. I'm checking my email constantly. I will try and get back to you really quickly. You will definitely hear back from me within the day, if not much faster than that. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. I promise to get back to you quickly. There's some information here about the department chair and dean, a little description, some objectives. I'm going to let you look over all of that on your own. It's kind of all the stuff that we're going to cover over the course of our 8-week class that we have together. I'll talk a little bit more about the book as we get there, but there is definitely a required textbook for this class. And it's called Psyched, and it is a book that I actually wrote. The advantage to that is I was able to control the price of it. It is very inexpensive compared to most intro psych books. I know that textbooks are expensive, trust me, and I'm sorry about that, but you do need the book in order to have any chance of passing the class. All of the exams are on the ebook site. It has all of the chapters. I believe it's $87, and there's a link. I'll show you where you can find that. But please make sure you get that and register it right away if you haven't already. I would also recommend that you download like the Canvas app or maybe even the Twitch app on your phone or tablet or whatever you're using. I will be using Twitch for these live streams. I just thought it was kind of fun and a little more current and popular rather than Zoom. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I've been using it for a little while. It's fairly user friendly, and you obviously will need access to the internet. I have some like computer suggestions for you, but as long as you have a working tablet or computer, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. Some codes of conduct kind of things. We're obviously not meeting in person, but we are doing a lot of interacting with each other. We have discussions a lot every week. We have 2 in this class. So please make sure that we're always being really mindful of the things that we're saying here in the Twitch chats, also in the discussions with each other. Let's just make sure that everyone is being respectful and feels safe in here. A couple of other things, obviously, please don't copy or cheat. I would love all of your own beautiful and creative work. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a bullet. The way that this class is set up is I've given you access to 2 weeks of material at a time. And I wanted to do that to give you a little bit more flexibility. I know it's summer, so some of you are traveling, some of you might be working. I have 3 little kids. I just came straight from softball all-stars that I'm coaching, that is every night. So I know that we're all busy, and I thought having a little bit more flexibility might be nice. So you have 2 weeks of material open at any time. And you can work on those materials at any time during those 2 weeks. But you must turn that material in, anything that's due, in before that 2-week deadline. I'm really, really strict about this just because it's the only way to be fair and consistent. If you have an emergency, if something comes up, if you're traveling, if there's something going on and you email me before the deadline, I'm completely willing to work with you whenever I can. But if you email me 1 minute after the deadline, I will tell you I'm sorry. So that's kind of my one hard rule, and I would really encourage you to take it seriously. Please don't miss those 2-week deadlines. If you email me at 11:58 p.m. Sunday night and say like, I forgot, I didn't have enough time, can I have a little more time? I will give it to you if I can. But if you email me at 12:01 a.m., it will be too late. So, and I'll feel really bad, but that's just, it's a rule that I stick to. So please just be really mindful of that. You have a lot of flexibility. Try and plan ahead. There's some stuff about smoking and Title IX that I'll let you read over. In terms of our class, our grade is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. There's a little orientation quiz, which I'll show you later, that needs to be done by tomorrow evening. So you need to have your book registered and purchased and take the little quiz by tomorrow, just so I can make sure that you're getting going, you're up to speed. The big part of your grade is made up of discussions. So you will be doing 2 discussions each week. Those make up a big portion of your grade. It's my way of making sure you understand the materials and can apply them. There's a couple of little self-assessments that you'll do to kind of evaluate your progress, a short closing assignment at the end, and then 4 exams. Basically, each week what you'll be doing is reading 2 chapters, doing 2 discussions, and completing an exam. It's kind of the general format that you can expect. And I'll always give you a study guide. I'll tell you exactly what to prepare. I want you all to do well. I hope you all do really well. There's no reason you shouldn't, as long as you're studying and reading. So I will always set you up for success. There's a little grade distribution here, so you can see everything's just based off of points. If you're with Access, make sure that you get me your memo as soon as possible so I can get you set up for whatever accommodations you might need. And then there's some things down here like student tech support and college information. If you need some help, there's some links here, some college information links. Follow just by our schedule. And what you can see is as of yesterday morning, we entered weeks 1 and 2. And so for weeks 1 and 2, these are going to end on 6/23. It's a Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And you're reading for these first weeks, or these 4 chapters. You have a little mandatory orientation quiz, some discussions, and excuse me, an exam. And so you'll see this every week. You can see kind of what you have due. And our weeks will generally go Monday to Sunday, except for the final week, which ends on a Friday. Super random. I'm sorry about that. I didn't set it, but I will remind you quite a few times when we get a little bit closer. So I know I went through that kind of quickly, but look over the syllabus. I also sent out a little welcome letter to all of you to make sure that you kind of knew what I was looking for, how to get your textbook and all that kind of stuff. And speaking of the book, let's talk a little bit more about that. I did send you a link in the announcements. So if you click on announcements, you should have seen this. It was one of the first ones that I sent out about the textbook. And as I mentioned, you really do need to get this. Please get it today if you haven't already. And so there's a link right here to purchase it. As I mentioned, it's $87, and I know that seems expensive, but the average intro psych textbook is like 250 plus. So that's really reasonable. I know that money can be really tight, but please try and find a way to get that book. If you can't afford the book, you might consider dropping and looking for like a zero cost textbook class where you don't have to worry about it. But here's instructions on how to register and access your book once you purchase it. Here's the link for how to get it. Again, it's called Psyched. And once you purchase it, it looks like this, right? It's a website that you'll log into. It's got all of the chapters in here. It's got some additional resources and the exams. I even made a little video for you so that if you are kind of needing a little bit more help walking through it, it's right there in the middle. But you'll find all of the chapters on here, right? And again, I did write all of these, which took me forever, right? I hope you find it interesting and you can kind of hear my voice in there. Oh, look, a cat. This is my cat Noodle. I have 5 cats, so you might see them come in. He's the youngest, so he doesn't know that if he comes near me during a stream that he will end up in it, right? So Noodle, right? Little fettuccine Alfredo Noodle. Sassy little guy, right? So I told you we might end up with cats. I think that's the one fun part about teaching at home. He is adorable, sassy, very sassy, but adorable, right? And he might come back, we'll see, or bite me under the table, one or the other. So here are the chapters, and you'll notice that like if you click on chapter 1, for example, right? We had just watched Wonka, and my kids loved like the whole noodle thing, and so that's where his name comes from. So you'll see with each chapter, there's like a little outline, objectives, a summary, and then it just goes into the chapter. So you're going to be reading each one of these. Anything in bold is a key term. There's all sorts of like links and pictures and little text boxes and apply it boxes in here, right? So the chapters, you can find them here on the ebook site. The other big thing that you're going to find on here are the exams. So every single exam will be taken here on the ebook site, including that mandatory orientation quiz. And this is the one that's due by tomorrow night. And the reason I have it due so quickly is we have a very short add and drop deadline. And I want to make sure that all of you have your book, you're registered, and you're getting started so you don't fall behind. So I'll come back to this quiz in a little bit, but please make sure you do get your ebook right away, get it registered, get all set up. Make sure you pick our section too, right? We're 55502. If you pick the wrong section, then all of your dates will be messed up and it'll be a little bit tricky to fix it. Possible, but tricky. So that's probably order of business number 1, get your book. Again, there's instructions here on how to find the book, how to purchase, register, and access the book. I even made a little video overview. I'm really big on videos and using technology. So chances are, if you're confused, I made a video about it for you to try and help. I also put together some frequently asked questions. These are questions that people ask me all the time. I thought it might be nice to kind of put them together. I also made a little student lounge for you. So if you'd like to interact with each other and ask and answer questions with each other, you have the ability to do that. It's just kind of a little discussion forum that is open to you at any time. A couple of other things here. I have some information here about how to find me on Twitch and YouTube. More on that in a minute. Some help with technology, Canvas, how to find your grades, college services, how to find out more about the major. So I have lots of like help and campus resources links available to you. Now you can always email me if you have questions, but chances are if you have a question, I have addressed it somewhere here. So you could kind of explore these and then always email me if you're still struggling. Before I jump down here, are there any questions so far? I know I'm talking a lot and it's summer and it's almost 9 at night, right? But I figured Better to talk a little too much, make sure I go over it all. If you have any questions at any point, please feel free to put them in the chat. I don't see anything yet, so I'm going to keep going, but if you think of anything, go ahead and put it in there. And I love the little cat with the sunglasses. That's so cute. um, so once you have your book and you've gone through and kind of looked at all these materials, you're going to want to go to the mandatory orientation lecture. And I put this together to try and help you. Is he behind me? I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a cat behind me. I didn't see it except in the video. He jumps on my head. Forgive me if I yelp. It's kind of up to you. So someone asked, how many hours of work can we expect a week? I mean, you're reading 2 chapters, doing 2 discussions, watching a lecture video. So basically we're taking a class that would normally go over 16 weeks and we're putting it into 8, right? So a 16-week 3-unit class is usually a good like 3 to 6 hours a week. So I would say you could probably double that and safely say like 6 to 10 hours a week, depending on how fast you read, how fast you digest the materials. It's kind of, I think that's a good rough estimate though. I would say like 6 hours is a pretty solid guess. If you can't make it to the live stream, they will always be recorded, right? So I will record them every week and post the video. So you'll always be able to watch that. And you can still get the extra credit if you're subscribed on Twitch. That's the only way that I can track your attendance. So you either join me live and then go answer the question on Canvas, which I'll show you in a bit, or you're subscribed on Twitch, which you can do for free, and I'll show you how to do that and find the instructions in a little while as well. Okay. And if you can't make it on time, that's fine, right? You can always join me as soon as you can. So with this mandatory orientation lecture, I want you to notice that it has 5 tabs at the top, just so you don't miss them. And you're welcome. And so what you'll want to do is you're going to want to read or listen to the subsequent pages. I have recorded everything in the form of audio. If you would rather listen to my voice, you miss the sound of my voice, you can always hit play here, or you can read through it. Read through the syllabus, which we went through kind of quickly together. Once you have your book and you've read through all of this, you'll want to complete the mandatory orientation quiz, which I'll show you a little bit more later. Remember, that is on the ebook site, but I will show you that in a little bit. I'd like you to find me and subscribe on Twitch and YouTube if you can. Now, I don't want you to pay for this. Ideally, there is a way to do this for free, but I post a lot of YouTube videos, so I think if you could find me on YouTube, that would be helpful. You don't have to subscribe, that's up to you, but I think it makes it easier. If you can, please find me and subscribe on Twitch. Now, I know Twitch is a little more complicated, so I have step-by-step instructions on how to do that. If anyone in your family has an Amazon Prime account, you can totally do that for free. Yeah, you're here, Karina. I see your name, and that's totally fine. If you can't figure it out, that's okay. But I'll make one little plea, and that is it takes me quite a bit of time to match your Twitch names to your real names. If you're subscribed, I can just download a list. It helps me so much. So I greatly appreciate those of you who do that. It also gives you notifications. You get a little football cake next to your name. I'm a huge football fan, so I love that. You get less ads, and I can track your participation much easier. So if you can take a few moments to do this, it's free. You can obviously pay for it, but I'd love to save you that so you don't have to spend any more money than you need to. But if you could figure that out, I would really appreciate it. I gave you step-by-step instructions in a video. You're welcome to do it now or sometime this week, but please try and figure that out if you can. The way this course is organized, as I mentioned, is that each week you'll have 2 chapters that you're in charge of reading. You'll also have 2 lectures and lecture videos. So for each chapter, you're basically doing 3 things. You're reading the chapter in the ebook, you're reading through the lecture, and you're watching the lecture video. After you do that, there'll be 2 discussions to do on Canvas. Those are a big part of your points. There'll be 1 exam for every 2 weeks. So each exam will be on the chapters for those 2 weeks. There'll be a couple of little self-assessments, and then there'll be a closing assignment at the end. I don't like cumulative finals, so I give you a little closing assignment instead, which I think is much nicer. Everything will always be organized under its week to make it very simple and clear for you. So as long as you do everything under that week, you can also double check the syllabus or double check the announcements. That should be very well organized to keep it very clear. And you're welcome. Whoever said thank you, you're welcome. That's kind of the main format of the class. Your instructor, I gave you a little bit more about me. I'm a huge football fan. I've been a huge Tom Brady fan for years, so a little weird now that he's retired, but I'm a huge football fan. I also really love Mahomes and Cooper Kupp and a few others. Puka are a few of my favorite players. I'm obsessed with escape rooms. I've done over 100 of them. They're one of my favorite things to do. I love the holidays and the fall. I love camping and s'mores, right? I gave you some shows and things that I also really enjoy. So just to give you a little bit more about me so you know who is teaching the class. The fourth page is a little bit about your computer and internet stuff. If you're struggling with settings, there might be something on here that's helpful. And finally, on the last page, there's some stuff about help. If you're struggling with Canvas, I gave you their phone number. If you're struggling with ordering your ebook, I gave you their email and phone number. If you have a problem after you've purchased the ebook, I also gave you their email. And then you can, of course, always email me as well. Yeah, so these live streams should be roughly every Tuesday night. I have a couple of them that I had to kind of move due to games or like vacations that were going on. And there might be some weeks where I just give you a video recording. So you'll see that in the calendar or in the announcement for the week. But that's kind of the general format. Is I try to keep it as consistent as I can, but I know summer isn't always the easiest. So make sure you read through all of this if you haven't kind of looked it all over. Once you finish that, you're set to take the mandatory orientation quiz, which I'll show you next. Yeah, Kevin, thanks for joining us. That's totally fine, and do the best that you can to be here. Yeah, and I'll show you for the discussions, right? No, that's a great question about a 13 versus a 10. I'll show you when we talk about the discussions in a little bit. So if I don't answer that question, shy guy, please make sure to ask again. So once you've gone through all of that, again, the mandatory orientation quiz is on the ebook site. So if you're on here, you'll see that there are some instructions. For this one, you get 15 minutes. And you always only get one attempt with the exam. So make sure you're organized and ready to go before you begin. You're also going to want to make sure you save all your answers. And when I say organized and ready to go, make sure that you've studied what you needed to study. We'll talk more about this for exam number 1 next week. This one's really informal, really simple. It's just my way of making sure that you've read the syllabus, you have your book, and you're ready to go. So as soon as you have 15 minutes to spare and you're all set, you'll hit begin your attempt, and it's going to open up the quiz for you. And what you'll notice is there's a little clock up here, and it's going to count down your time. Be really mindful of the time. Once you run out, it will just close it on you. So make sure that you're watching that. You can skip questions. So let's say you don't know the answer to this one, to number 1. You could skip to number 2. It's going to turn that one like a gray color. This course is self-paced. You can work through at your own pace, right? That's false. There are weekly deadlines. And then once you answer it, you'll hit save, and it turns it like an orange or gold color. And let's say, oh, I don't know this one. I'm going to skip it. So I go to number 4, right? Again, whenever you skip it, it turns it like a gray color. You're just going to want to make sure each one of them is like that orange color before we end. There's one required book. True, right? And hit save, right? So I've given you 2 of them for free. There are only 10 questions. And once you have all of them that orange gold color, you'll hit I am finished, submit for a grade, and it will give you a grade right away. Now, the grade will stay in the ebook site until I bring it over to Canvas. I wish that it came over automatically, but it doesn't. So once the deadline has passed, what you'll see is I bring the scores over into Canvas. So probably on Thursday, after that deadline has passed. But you can always see what your score was here on the ebook site in the meantime, and that's kind of a helpful resource for you. It's up here at the top where it says gradebook. You can see how you did on whatever materials you've done. So those are the big things to kind of get started, right? Read through the syllabus, read through the orientation lecture, get your ebook. Please try and find me and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch. And then take that quiz. There's also a little introductions discussion to help me get to know you a little bit better. And once you have done all of that, you are then clear and ready to go to start week number 1. So as of yesterday, week 1 and week 2 are open. And what I'll do each week is I'll talk about that week. So since we're in week 1, I'm going to focus on what we have going on this week. And then when I meet with you next week or record the video next week, I'll talk about week number 2. So for this week, we're looking at 2 chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2. So the history and scope of psychology and psychology as a science. And for each chapter, again, remember, you're going to want to do 3 things. On the ebook site, you're going to want to read through the chapters. Okay, great. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you for letting me know. And I hope you're able to figure it out. I did give you step-by-step instructions, so hopefully that will help. But here are the chapters, so you're going to want to make sure you read through those chapters. And then you'll also want to read through my lecture that I've made for you. And the lectures follow that same 5-tab format as the mandatory orientation lecture. And I've recorded them for you if you'd like to listen to them. Page 1 will always be objectives and summary. Page 2 is always going to be beyond the book. So here's a little bit of stuff that's kind of beyond what I talked about in the textbook. If I give you a video, watch it. If I give you a link, click on it, right? It's meant to help you understand the materials. Page 3 will always be in pop culture. So here are some examples of shows or books or movies or whatever that connect to what we're talking about. Sometimes I'll have little video clips on there for you for fun. Page 4 is always going to be what are the key terms that I need to know for the exam. So I'll always give you a study guide, but here are the terms you'll find on the study guide. So if you wanted to start preparing, you could do so with these. And then the last page will always be application, right? Now that I've read through this, how can I apply it to my life in some way? So click on anything that I give you, explore all the links, watch all the videos. And then I've also given you a lecture video to watch. And these are going to be me lecturing to some PowerPoint slides as if you were taking this with me in person. So you're going to want to do all 3 of those things for every chapter. And between those 3 things, it will cover everything and it will be the way to go. Do I recommend watching the lectures first or reading the chapters? Does it matter? So I would say it doesn't matter. It's totally up to you. But what always has made the most sense to me is I think I would read the chapter first. So I get like a nice broad overview. And then I would probably go through these 2. And I would say the order of these 2 doesn't matter as much. But if it were me, I'd probably read the chapter first or at least kind of skim it so you know what to expect. And then you can do these. All of it together is going to give you a good picture. So it's totally fine. Yep, and stay as long as you can. If you have to go, you have to go. Again, these will always be recorded, and so you can watch the rest of it later. So you'll do that for chapter 1, you'll do that for chapter 2, and then once you've done those 2 chapters, you've done those 3 things, you can work on the 2 discussions. So discussion 1, for example, let's take a look at it together. And what you'll notice is I'm really big on consistency. I've been teaching online now for like 15 years. I'm a very organized person. So every discussion will look the same at the top. You'll see here are the instructions, requirements, and grading. And there'll always be a little introduction video and then the prompt. So every single time, I'll recommend that you watch the video. I'll give you some instructions. Make sure you're always really detailed in your responses. These discussions are a chance for you to show off your understanding of the material. Show me that you can apply them, that you understand them. Think about them like little mini papers. I'm looking for roughly like a paragraph for each question that I give you. So you think about them more like a mini paper, and I think that will help. Somebody had asked earlier too, here's a little discussion, like a sample and a rubric. So if you would like to see specifically what I'm looking for, you can kind of get an idea with this right here. But I'm looking for you to really show me that you understand and can make those connections. Your responses to my questions are worth 13 points. And your responses to a classmate are worth 2. So with each post, you're going to want to read through a few classmate responses and reply to one of them. But your biggest focus is on answering my questions. And you'll notice that I gave you a video for every single discussion. Some of them are a little bit older. I had shorter hair or whatever in them. But watch the videos. They give you some tips and suggestions. So for this one, discussion one, here's my prompt, right? And this one's all about the history and scope of psychology. So when you're ready, what you'll do is you'll hit reply, and you can see several of you have already replied, right? So Ariana replied here, or Ashley. And then let's say I really like what Ashley had to say. I could then also reply to her, right? By clicking reply right here. And so that's how you're going to reply not only to me, but also to a classmate. I would definitely suggest that you save your answers. You never know, right? Like save it. If something happens and you have it saved, it just might be helpful in some way. So that's discussion number one on the history and scope of psychology. And then you'll also do discussion two, which is on chapter two. And again, you have my instructions at the top, my video underneath it, and then the prompt. And this one's about research methods. And if you had to study anything, what would you study and how, and some other information. And so you can see people have already answered that. And let's say, like, looking at this, Ariana, again, right, let's say I really like what you had to say, what you wanted to study. I could reply to it here. And that looks like a really nice length. I haven't obviously read it yet. But make sure, as always, again, that you're really elaborating. You will never lose points for giving me too much, but you could definitely lose points for not giving me enough. So better to give me more, and then you could always dial it back if you find that you lost a few points on these first discussions. And typically what I will do as a side note is I will grade everything once the week has ended. So once weeks 1 and 2 end, I will then grade everything for weeks 1 and 2 that following day. And you can typically expect that I will do that on a Monday, unless I let you know otherwise. And then you'll see your grades show up in here in Canvas. I'll send an email out with some feedback. But you can generally plan on that to happen the day after the deadlines have passed. Ooh, another cat. Ready? This is Squash. My gosh. So this is Squash. This is my oldest cat. The kids wanted to name her Water Bottle, but we ended up with Squash Carrots. So this is Squash. She's my older, crankier cat, but she came up. So, you know, what are you going to do? So now you've seen 2 out of 5. I have 3 more. And so we'll see if we can get all of them at some point. I have Squash, Noodle, Rolly, Binks, and, oh my gosh, Whiskey, right? I forgot one of my cats. So we'll see what happens. But so again, read chapters 1 and 2, go through the discussions. And then the other thing that you have every week is if you join me live for this, or if you're watching this as a recording and you're subscribed, I'm going to give you an extra credit question every week. And you can answer that on here for 2 points of extra credit. And you're getting those 2 points for getting the answer correct and joining me or watching it. And so it's a nice opportunity to get like a solid like 16 points over the semester that we have together. That would make up for a missed discussion, maybe a low exam score. It's definitely going to help you. So if you can find a way to either watch these later as a recording and be subscribed, or join me live, you know, that's going to be something that's helpful for you. Used to have 5 cats too, now only 4. Oh, but that's amazing. I mean, 4 is still a lot of cats. We had 4 up until we got Noodle like 2 months ago, and now we're up to 5. So every week what you'll see again is that format. Week 2 is open for you. If you wanted to work ahead, chapters 3 and 4, discussions 3 and 4, and exam 1 are all open. But I'm going to talk about that next week in our next video. So this week it's week 1, so I'm focusing on week 1. Typically what I'll do as we kind of get toward the end is I have a couple of reminders for you, and then I will give you the extra credit question, show you how to answer it, and then end with some time for questions. So just since it's the first one, does anyone have any questions for me at the moment before I kind of give you my reminders to leave you with, and then the extra credit and so on? I'm going to bring up this other screen here. I already typed this out, and I know I've said this a few times, so I'm sorry to harp on it, but I had already typed it, forgot to post it. So again, please try and take a moment to find me on Twitch and YouTube and figure that out, and see if you can subscribe. Please try not to pay for it. I don't want you to pay any money, and so there should be a way you can do it for free, ideally. The other reminder that I have for you, our next Twitch live stream will be a recording next week. So typically I'm going to be doing these live next week. I put in the calendar and also in the announcement. We're going to be in the Grand Canyon next week. So I'm going to just be doing a recording. But typically I will try and do like a live session, even if I'm, not home, since I can just jump online with all of you. But next week should be a recording. Perfect. Sounds like a plan, right? And yeah, I know that you might have used it for somebody else, and that's totally fine. I will forgive you for that, Hammy Sammy. That's a fun name. So the other thing that I have for you, and I typed this up already, every week I will give you a extra credit question. And these questions are going to allow you to get those 2 points. So if you're joining me live and you're subscribed, you don't have to put your name in the chat. If you're not, then put your name in the chat at some point. But this is the week number 1. So someone asked, how do we subscribe through Prime? If you go back on Canvas, I'll show you in a moment. I gave you, there's a whole page with step-by-step instructions on how to do that. You have to link the accounts together. It takes a couple of minutes, but it's good for 30 days. So you'd only have to do it twice, and that would cover the entire class. So see if you can figure that out. I'll show you where you can find that in a moment. But here is the week number 1 extra credit question. What does the phrase correlation versus causation mean? Describe and give an example. So I put that in the chat. What does the phrase correlation versus causation mean? Describe and give an example. So I'll come back to your questions in a moment here. But if you go to Canvas, since we're in week 1, if you wanted to answer that, you would go right here to optional Twitch extra credit number 1 and click on it. Up at the top, click on Start Assignment, and there's some instructions here to remind you of what you need to do. But excuse me, click on Start Assignment, and then it's going to bring up this box where you can type your response. And when you're ready, hit Submit. And this is going to give you like a little confetti burst and little pinwheels. It's always something different, which is kind of fun to look forward to. But that's how you will go ahead and get the points. So if you aren't able to subscribe, you're still answering this on here. You're joining me live. So just make sure you put your first and last name in here at some point and you'll be set. If you subscribed, you don't have to do that because it all tracks it for me. So that's where you can find the extra credit. The other thing, just to show you really quickly, for week number 1, sometime either later tonight or tomorrow morning, I will post the recording of this video. So you'll be able to click right here and watch the recording in case you missed it or you weren't able to make it. That's totally fine. And then remember that week number 2 is open for you if you'd like to work ahead. And when I make the video next week, I will talk about week number 2 specifically, including that first exam. And some of those materials. Okay. And so someone asked how you subscribe through Prime. If you scroll up, I have it right here, right? So subscribing to my Twitch and YouTube channels, there's a whole page about it. And what I did is give you step-by-step instructions on how to do that with pictures. And then there's even a video at the bottom. So hopefully that makes it as simple as it can be anyway to try and figure out. Okay. So I mean, I think that's everything that I wanted to go through with all of you. Let's see, she said, if we can't make it live, but we watch the recording, can we still answer that question for extra credit? Yes, if you are subscribed. So the only way that I can track your attendance of watching the recording is if you're subscribed. And so once you're able to do that, but you're joining me live, so just put your name in the chat and you're set. But if you're subscribed and watch it later, you can still do that. Ooh, another cat. Hold on. This is my boy. This is Rolly, and he is my favorite. He is like the chonkiest cat ever, but I love this cat. This is my cat, right? This is Rolly. Rolly the Polly. He is like a two-hander big boy, right? He looks very mad at me, so I'll put him down. He is so cute, but he is a huge baby. So now you've gotten 3 cats. You can look forward to maybe the other 2 on the next stream. So feel like the crazy cat person here. Like cats everywhere, but you know, they're cute. What am I gonna do? So biggest things, just to pull it back together here. What I really want you to focus on right now: get your copy of the ebook and register it. Take the mandatory orientation quiz, and then get started on week number 1. And if you have any questions, remember you can always reach out to me, and that's totally fine. At any time. I'll get back to you and let you know. You can. I'm going to hang out for a few minutes here. If you have any other questions for me now that we're kind of wrapping up, you can ask me now, and I'd be happy to go over it. And I'm glad that the instructions were helpful. Yeah, if you just follow the step-by-step instructions, it takes a minute, but it's pretty clear. And then you'll end up with that football cake next to your name. So if you notice that you don't have the football cake, I don't think you went all the way through. And then someone said, are the extra credit questions? They're typically going to be things that are in the textbook and or the lecture, right? So they're kind of big concepts within the chapter. So like that one that I just gave you is part of chapter 2. You definitely would find it in the lecture and the textbook and in the lecture video. So yeah, so you're answering them, and oftentimes it's going to be something that really helps you on the exam. Somebody said, if we can't make it live but watch the recording, can we? Yes. So you are subscribed. I see the football cake next to your name. So if you just watch the recording later, that's totally fine. You can still answer the question and get the extra credit. You do have to get the question right, but they're pretty self-explanatory. I think that should be possible. Right, and like Kim just figured it out. Nice job, Kim. And you're welcome to work on it now if that's helpful for you. You can see that. But yeah, if you watch these as a recording later and are subscribed, totally fine to still answer it on Canvas. Okay. So I'm glad this was really helpful. You're welcome. I'm going to try and do these every week as often as I can, especially since so many of you joined me. Thank you so much for being on here with me. I know it's kind of late, but my daughter has softball until 8, and so it was the earliest I could do it. And we have softball every day because it's All Stars. So after the course is over, we have access to the book. I believe it's either 6 months or a year that you have access to it. So you can download it, I believe, or print it out, but you do have access for like a good 6 months to a year. Okay. And you're welcome. I'm glad this was helpful. If you have no questions, see cats behind me, right? If you have no questions, you're welcome to get going on week 1, or have a great night. Enjoy your evening. If you do have any questions, I'm going to hang out for a little while. If you'd like to ask, you could put it in the chat. I'd be happy to show you whatever you're confused about. Not a problem at all. And thank you all so much. Thank you all for saying thank you. I'm glad that you're here with me. Happy to do this if it's helpful. Thank you. We have our last tournament this weekend. So yeah, last tournament. It's been a long 6 weeks of All Stars. I'm tired, but I love it at the same time. Right? Yes. Have a wonderful night. Thank you all. And please get going on the materials. Get that book. Get going, and let me know if you have any questions. And I'm going to minimize my video so I'm not staring at myself. But I am going to hang out for a little while if you do have any questions for me. Otherwise, have a wonderful night, a wonderful week. Thank you all. Thank you all for the well wishes and the thank yous. And I will hope to see you all, not next week because it'll be a recording, but the week after that, we'll pick back up with a live meeting. You can try to do it on your phone. Honestly, I think it might be a little challenging, right? Especially the ebook site. I'm not sure. Oh, to subscribe? Yeah, doing the subscription process. I believe you can do it on your phone, but I'm not sure, right? You might give it a shot. If it works, great. If not, you might need to have like a tablet or a computer. Yeah, the extra credit. So every week, what will happen is I'll give you a question during these live streams. If you're joining me live, you'll put your name in the chat, and then you can answer the question here on Canvas, like week number 1, for example. You would click on optional extra credit right here, number 1, to answer the question that I give you. And so if you scroll up, I did put it in the chat. I'll put it here one more time. This is the week number 1 Twitch extra credit question. I put it back in the chat. Yeah, I didn't know if it would work through the app either. I would say you might want to have to do it on the internet. Yeah, that's the same. I had that concern. So you can give it a shot, but I would imagine you might need your computer or like a tablet. But that's how you get the extra credit. It's 2 points for each week that will be available to you. And if you do all of them, that'll add up to like 16 points. Okay? Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. And again, this video will be posted a little bit later. It might be tomorrow morning. Sometimes it takes a little bit to upload and download it, but I will definitely post it on Canvas. All right, so I'll hang out for a couple more minutes if any of you have questions. Otherwise, I know it's getting late, and we'll go from there. And I am still here if any of you think of anything for a couple more minutes. All right, it looks like almost everybody has logged out, so I'm going to go ahead and close this up so I can start that upload download process. But if you think of any other questions, feel free to email me. Have a wonderful week. Thank you all so much for joining me. Oh, someone said, do we just need to give one example? Yeah, like one example would be fine. So you could give me an example of how they're different. So what would be an example of a correlation versus causation, right? And it could be something that is kind of connected to each other, or they could be separate. It's totally up to you. Of course, you're welcome. All right, everyone, have a wonderful evening, and I will hope to see you all in our next live stream.